Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of Coffee and Coaching, where we're just going to be talking a bit about coffee and a bit about coaching. I'm Coach Camara. You can find me on Instagram at coach.camara.
I'm Jack Grinley. I'm the owner and founder of Silver Jacks. We're a small personal training team in Aintree in Liverpool. We do a lot of one-to-one coaching, and we also do online coaching for people who can't make it to us. You can find me or us on Instagram at Silver Jacks. We're also on YouTube as Silver Jacks, and you find me on LinkedIn as Jack Grinley. So most important thing first, where's your coffee? What are you drinking?
Today I'm prepared.
Oh,
so everyone, yesterday, right? We filmed this the second time around for this podcast because this dickhead over here didn't press record. So we sat there just chatting shit to each other without it recording. So this is take two. And yesterday, I didn't come prepared and I had to quickly grab a coffee machine coffee and I was fuming. So now, first episode, I'm prepared.
First episode, actually recorded.
Yeah. Good. Taylors have had espresso.
Nice little posh cup as well.
Little glass one.
I'm rocking the Lavazza press. Oh, so posh. Like that biscuit advert. I'm on the Lavazza press again, waiting for it to turn into sludge before I drink it. Right, so today we're going to talk a little bit about the current situation, what challenges we're sort of facing as coaches, and also what stuff we've put in place to help our clients. The three main things we're going to talk about is one, the transition from coaching in person to it all being online, how we're keeping people engaged, and sort of the different things we've both done differently for our clients. We both sort of have a different type of client base. So we get two sort of sides of that. Talk a little bit about the training stuff that we've done, what we've implemented, what we've both done differently, what worked, what's working and what isn't. And then touch on the nutrition, again, how that's changed because of what's going on. And finally round it up with sleep and some other health markers that we're focusing on now. So I'll let Isaac dig into our first topic of our transition from being on the gym floor to being online completely.
So obviously with the current situation, we've obviously seen changes, and as coaches we've had to adapt not only to make sure our clients are still progressing and moving towards their goals, but also I've seen, like you've probably seen as well, Jack, across the industry, like sort of seeing all the good coaches seem to have stepped up and sort of taken on a role as a little bit more than a coach for other people. I think the time of high stress, people need someone to sort of rely on a little bit. So for a few clients, myself, and probably the same for you, we've sort of had to step up and sort of help keep people a little bit sane in this time of stress and anxiety for a lot of people. I think the biggest thing is motivation, which I've seen lots of people's motivation sort of drop a little bit because they're sort of thinking, now I'm stuck at home, I can't have an effective training session. And it's sort of we've had to take on the role of more of a motivational sort of aspect to our coaching to keep people motivated and making sure that people are still actually engaged and moving towards their goals. Do you notice anything?
Definitely, there's been a big shift from just the training and people's appearance to now managing their stress levels and their overall health. But also, I think, like you said, a lot of the good coaches are realising that a lot of what we do day to day is now very that we maybe wouldn't have related to people beforehand is now very relevant. So like the organization of your day being very sort of precise with what you're doing that day, and making sure that every day has a goal and there's something to be achieved every day, and it's not at the moment always going to be centered around going and working out and changing how your body looks, but how are you feeling mentally, how are you health wise, like how's your sleep, and all that's now, although it's always important from our side of things, we may not highlight that as much as we are doing now for our clients, and having to remind them of the importance of all the other factors that they need to focus on now to not lose motivation and to not lose focus, and to just keep people in a better state of mental health, because it is a very stressful time for a lot of people, us included. So I think us being able to handle our stresses quite well is kind of like leading from the front almost. Like a lot of, especially like for all your one-to-one clients, when the gym shut, they knew how hard we got hit financially, but for us to still keep turning up and for us to still keep pushing for their progress sort of passes on to them to think, well, yeah, if he can do it, then yeah, I can go and get 10,000 steps in, or I can fucking go and set a goal for the end of the day and achieve it. So the change has been quite big in that way, I feel.
Yeah, definitely. Like you touched upon then, the enforcing, rather, more of a that's the word. What word I'm looking for? Focus on creating an optimal routine is massive for me, because I think as like now we're on lockdown. Most people got football to do. Like, we're still busy, obviously, because we've got things to be doing. But like people who work in offices and stuff like that, they don't have any tasks to be doing day to day. So your motivation can just be sucked out because you've got no goal, you've got nothing to drive yourself towards. So I think in a sort of weird way, it's a bit of a nice opportunity for people to actually focus on optimizing sleep, optimizing health, nutrition, and then also just continuing to get the most out of their training program.
Yeah, definitely.
You've arranged quite a lot of stuff this week, haven't you? Tell everyone about that. Have you got?
Yeah. So again, it's all stuff which is a positive. I'm taking it away as a positive, that this has forced me into doing things that were on the back burner for a long time. There was stuff I always wanted to do and just would never get around to doing it. Sorry about that. So this week we've started this podcast. We've talked about this podcast for months now. This is before last Christmas, wasn't it? We mentioned doing a podcast, and now it's a reality. Webinars, I love the sort of education side of things. Like, that's my favorite part of coaching, is being able to educate people. So we're doing free webinars every week now, just touching on different parts of education around the stuff we do. So the first one, which is up on YouTube now, which is up on our YouTube, was all about nutrition, which was great to have people come in and ask us questions there and then as well. And, you know, to see them on the webcam, like taking notes and like soaking the information in, was great. This week we're doing one on training. We've got you on as a guest. Soon doing one on sleep, because you're a fucking sleep nerd. And then like things like live Q&As and stuff, because we've now got the time, and it's just people want to know. People have got more time to soak in this information. So being the people that are there providing it is great. I'm enjoying it, to be honest with you.
I'm enjoying the same. I think, like, as you say, then we've been talking about this for so long, and now I've actually got the time to go and do it. Like, I've been considering getting a website for ages, and now I've actually got the time to go and do it.
Yeah.
So, which actually takes the piss, by the way. I didn't think it would.
Yeah, that's something that I've got on the back burner, but I just know how long it takes to set one up. So
after you forgot to record this podcast yesterday, I started it at like 10 o'clock, and then just about got the layout finished, and it was like 9 p.m. I was like,
Serious time, isn't it?
but that's what I mean. Now we've got the time to do these things. So
That's it. So, should we move on to training? Sort of touch on what we're doing differently with our clients and stuff, and how it's affected training.
Stop chatting shit. People probably don't care about that. Let's actually start giving some. So the biggest thing, which has obviously changed since the gyms have shut, and what we've had to adapt to in terms of training, is the lack of external load and equipment that people have got. So in the gym, we're used to having barbells, dumbbells, like if you're in a good gym, lots of fancy equipment. And now most people don't have that. So it's a case of how can we adapt to training with very minimal equipment, so resistance bands, in some cases body weight stuff, or very light dumbbells and stuff like that. So I think understanding how we need to adapt, we need to have a bit of an understanding about about the physiology that involves muscle growth and stuff like that. So when we're typically in the gym, obviously the goal of a gym session is, or a resistance training session, is to accumulate muscle or to build muscle. So the biggest mechanism that we're trying to trigger in terms of muscle growth is called mechanical tension. That's basically how much load you're putting through a muscle when you perform an exercise, and that's going to be the biggest driver towards hypertrophy. Obviously, with decent form and obviously many factors going into it, but that's going to be the biggest driver. And now obviously we don't have access to massive external load, we don't have access to great equipment, so we've got to move away from that stimulus to that mechanism of mechanical tension. We've got to have a bit more of a metabolic focus, which is, put in very simple terms, is trying to make a muscle fatigue, or make a muscle fail in terms of it can no longer contract because you've absolutely just rinsed it of everything that it's got. So we're sort of focusing now, or adapting the training sessions to look at how we can achieve fatigue with very minimal weight or minimal resistance. So we were talking about things like pre-exhaust tactics. So isometric holds, for example, we are trying to basically fatigue a muscle slightly before we go into a proper working set, so that we can achieve failure with a lightweight and things like that. We're talking about supersets, giant sets, and basically triggering different mechanisms that we wouldn't typically go for in a typical gym. So I think understanding about how a muscle, a bit about muscle physiology is going to be key. So I'll just dive into that a little bit. When a muscle is fatiguing, its ability to get into the short position, which is for most exercises, is going to be the end of the rep. So we use a bicep curl as a good example. If you're doing a bicep curl, the hardest bit is the top. So that's when your muscle is shortest, and at the bottom, that's when the muscle is weakest. As you begin to fatigue, your ability to get to the top or get into that short position is going to diminish. But you'll still have a decent scope to work it in the mid and lengthen range. So when we're looking to fatigue a muscle, we can do things like an isometric hold, or a mechanical drop set, or just simply working it in a shortened range and fatiguing it there.
Do you want to take people through what an isometric hold is, for anyone who's listening who doesn't know what an isometric hold is?
Yeah, so an isometric hold is simply where we're just contracting a muscle without any movement. So a wall sit would be a good one. A good example of an isometric hold is just simply where we're contracting a muscle without moving, and we're holding that contraction for a prolonged period until we begin to fatigue the muscle. So the goal of that is to get all the muscle fibers involved and then going into the main body of the movement. So It's just simply we're trying to achieve fatigue before we go into the proper exercise, so we can still hit failure.
That's fun, isn't it? This is, I think, the shift in training's been fun, trying to find new ways to hit people.
Yeah, we were saying this. I would never ever go and do a wall sit before a hack squat or something.
No.
Ever. But like now we don't have that ridiculous amount of load to put on the bar, so we've got to find ways to fuck ourselves up. And as I said to you yesterday, didn't I? Like, I am still sore after every session, and I haven't been sore for months. I haven't been sore and stimulus has changed. We've got more of a metabolic focus. We are, like, you've got to adapt, and obviously it's a new stimulus. The body is now trying to recover and adapt to that. So I think, going back to what I was saying about the different ranges, so once we are able to fatigue a muscle in its shortened range, then we want to start working it in mid to lengthen range to absolutely rinse everything out of it. So that's where a mechanical drop check comes in. So if you can pick, so if you were to do a tricep and pick an exercise that works in its shortened range, fatigues it there first, then another exercise going straight into it, which will fatigue in its length, in its mid range, sorry. And then the third exercise, when you're absolutely fatigued and there's fuck all left in the muscle, you'll still be able to work in the length and range. So in that way, we can absolutely just terrorize a muscle, even with very minimal weight. What sort of stuff have you been implementing?
So very similar. I've been putting in. It's been fun trying to figure out, especially at home. I think I'm in a position where I haven't got much to play with at home, although I've got the bands and the daisy chains and the wedges and stuff like that. Finding ways of setting them up in the flat has been interesting. I know you've got your little garage of gains, and I know a lot of people have got, like, some of my clients have got better setups than me. They've got like weight benches and they've got like a garage full of kit, which is great because I can program a lot of conventional stuff there. But like yesterday, I was filming some stuff where I've got the daisy chains wrapped around the leg of me table and stuff like that, and then just putting like ISO holds in with the bands and stuff, and sort of the way we were talking about putting drop sets in, where I've got like clients have got kettlebells, so I'll start them doing a deadlift with the kettlebell and the band, and then take that as far as they can, and then drop the kettlebell, carry on with the band, just as a way of putting in some kind of drop in resistance. But then also, I done a post on it on our Instagram the other day about tempo. We spoke about this yesterday. For me, it's a big one. It's always something I think we factor into our training anyway. I know when we train together, we definitely do. But when we're coaching other people, for me personally anyway, although I've got it in the back of my mind that there's a certain tempo that I want someone to move with during a set, I may not always explain to them, this is the tempo for this exercise, this is why we're using this tempo, because I'm there and I'm in person and I'm trying to get them through that set so I can control that tempo myself. Now it being completely online, a big push for the tempo is important, and explaining to people that, like, if you're doing press ups, if you're strong upper body, if you can bench press 140 kilos, then just a straight set of press ups isn't really gonna do much benefit for you. Whereas if I put a tempo in and they've got a 6 second eccentric lowering phase and like a 3 second pause at the bottom, and then a 4 second concentric where they're pushing up from the ground, you're not gonna get 50 press ups out without stopping. You're gonna be fucked after like 12, 15. So it's good in that way, bringing stuff like that into it. Which again, once all this calms down, all the stuff we're doing now will carry forward into the stuff we do in person again, but our clients will be aware of it without us having to go back through it again, which is good as well.
Definitely. I think press ups is a great example. I spoke to you about this the other day as well. So talking about isometric holds and how to fuck yourself up with no equipment, or very little equipment. I said on my story, someone challenged me to do 50 press-ups. I banged them out, and it weren't even that hard. And then I was doing an upper body session, and I have I think 7 kilo dumbbells, and I just held isometric fly. So I just went onto a flat bench, and just held a fly in the lengthened position. So at the bottom of the rep, I just held it there for 60, I think it was 60 seconds, 90 seconds, basically until my chest was just absolutely crying. And then went into press ups and got 7 out. And it was absolute failure rep. It was like a 6-second rep where I was like literally dying to get it up, and 6 reps on press ups. Like yesterday I banged out for fun. And it's like, if you can murder yourself if you just program correctly.
That's it. If you're smart about it, which is good, isn't it? Like if you can fuck yourself up with very little need for any equipment, as long as you're smart about how you do it.
Amazing. I think we should touch upon occlusion bands as well.
Yeah, definitely, because they're the devil's work.
They are. You know.
I know all too well how bad occlusion bands are. For anyone who doesn't know, occlusion bands are, or it's also known as BFR, blood flow restriction. It's essentially like a tourniquet, if anyone knows what, or a tourniquet, if anyone knows what that is. You're essentially just restricting the blood flow to a muscle by putting a band around your limb, so your arm, your bicep, or around your upper leg, to restrict blood flow.
And you just tighten it to fuck, and then your mouth feels like it's going to drop off. It's massive, so it's worth it.
It started getting used, didn't it, initially for people with injuries, for them to still be able to sort of get muscle hypertrophy without having to put masses of load through the joint. And then it's just carried over to conventional training now, really, hasn't it? Sort of caught on because it works.
Just simply that what it's doing is, when we restrict blood flow to a muscle, there's a few things going on which are going to stimulate a hypertrophic response or a muscle growth response. So when we are restricting blood flow, we are stopping the movement, or we're stopping the ability of your body to remove metabolites from the muscle. So metabolites are waste products, effectively, that your muscle makes when it's contracting. So when you're exercising, you'll be producing things like lactic acid or carbon dioxide. And in an ideal world, your body wants to get rid of those as fast as possible so that it can continue to perform at a high level. When those things can't be removed, we start to see lots of bullshit going on that your body doesn't really want, and that stress caused stimulates hypertrophy. One of the things that we look for when we're typically training for hypertrophy, one of the mechanisms is metabolic stress. So we're just sort of exacerbating that metabolic stress by restricting blood flow. And also, with no blood flow, that means no oxygen to the muscle. So we're going to be able to take a muscle towards failure much faster, simply because it can't respire at the same rate. It can't recover. It can't reproduce ATP, for anyone who knows what that is. And therefore, we are able to take a muscle to failure much faster. So it's very, very useful. Obviously, like you say, for people who are coming back from injury, who don't want to put lots of load through a joint that's previously been injured, or for people like most of you now who may be used to, normally you might bicep curl 15s, for example, but now you've only got 5 kilo dumbbells in your house and everything's sold out on Amazon, so unlikely that you're going to be able to get anything else anytime soon. So getting or having occlusion bands is going to be massive in making sure we can still take muscle to failure with very, very minimal weight. So that's been a big one for my clients. Is everyone pretty much has been advised to get them from me.
Yeah, definitely, and I can speak from experience. They are horrendous. I know we do, when we train together, we do a lot of arm occlusion for like bicep and tricep, but only recently, just before the gym's closed, we tried occlusion bands for the prowler, and that is quite possibly one of the worst things I've ever experienced in a gym setting. If you know how bad the prowler is, just times that by about 10, and that's how it is from about like the third step in until you take them off. And I haven't got,
It's you because you had the drop set as well.
yeah.
You weren't just like a lap, it was like a fucking extended drop set.
And the issue is I haven't got occlusion bands big enough for my legs, so I'm having to use my knee straps to just like rein them in around me upper quad, like around like in my groin almost. So it's wrapped around like 5 times to get enough tension. So when it comes to taking them off, there's just an absolute panic to try and get both of them off to get the pain to go away. So like even when the set's finished, the pain's still there because I can't get these bands off quick enough.
God, that's shocking. Yeah, I used them for the first time for like the other day. I wasn't expecting it to be so bad. Like it's bad in your arms, and it just gets to the point where you can't contract the muscle, and it hurts, but it's not that bad. But like when it's on legs, it's literally
there's just so much more muscle in your legs as well for the pain to be in.
Yeah, it's so bad, so bad, but also so good because it's how we get massive.
Exactly. Should we jump onto nutrition? Talk about what we're doing differently and sort of the different mindset to approach your nutrition now.
Yeah, let's do it. Do you want to jump in?
Yeah. So, some of the biggest things facing most people now initially was the lack of certain foods because knobhead hoarders were buying like 6,000 chicken breasts that all go out of date at the end of the week. So their protein intake for that 1 week must have been through the roof. But then also,
digestion absolutely destroyed.
yeah,
just non-existent for the next month.
people are now moving less, possibly because they're not in their normal routine of getting up and going to work and parking their car or walking to the train station and stuff. So they're not burning as many calories day to day as they would through NEAT, through non-exercise energy thermogenesis. Big words. And they're all so we also need to look at reducing people's intake, but to either keep them in a deficit or to maintain where they're at. And there's a couple of ways to approach it. There's always a couple of ways to approach it with any client in any situation. But I think now, more than ever, the focus has sort of shifted because people initially, I know for that first week, a lot of people were like, right, well, I can't leave the house now. So I'm just going to sit and veg in front of the TV for 12 hours a day and then sleep. And that's just a recipe for the scales going up because you've gone from maybe 10, 15,000 steps a day to the amount of steps it takes you to walk from the fridge to the couch.
Exactly, and people are just now, not only are they moving less, but they're like literally sat in the house full, where the cupboards are just full of food. And it's very difficult when you've got absolutely fuck all to do and you're bored and you're absolutely just doing nothing to not go into the kitchen and snacking. So we were talking yesterday massively about obviously routine. Like now it's a chance for people to go and get steps in. Like you've got fuck all to do, go and get some steps in. Like go for a 1 hour walk, you've got nothing else to do. Make sure that you're still moving towards your goals. And part of that from creating the routine, which we were talking about at the start, like the routine needs to be on point so that people, part of their day is making sure we get steps in, but also making sure that the environment in your house is correct. So it's like if you don't buy the food in, you're not going to eat it. So when you're shopping and you're buying loads and loads of shit, if it's just sitting in your kitchen cupboard, you're gonna nail it. You're going to, and it's inevitable. Really, we were talking yesterday about my love for chocolate buttons and Pringles, and absolutely just a certainty. If they are in the house, they will get demolished, the whole pack. So me understanding that and having the awareness that I don't want to do that, I just don't buy them. And I think that message has been relayed more so than it normally would to clients, because now you are in the position where if there's something shit in the house, you're more likely that it's going to get demolished. Have you touched upon that at all with yours?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, something we've spoken about a lot is like our approaches to food and like client relationships with food and stuff. And we both definitely push for clients to have a healthy relationship with food and to not over restrict and like develop like a bad relationship towards foods or think of foods as bad. But I think now, although we were saying like the whole intuitive eating thing is amazing, and to be in a position to be able to actually intuitively eat would be great.
Explain what that is to people.
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know what intuitive eating is, it's the ability to be able to hit your nutritional and caloric intake for the day without actually doing any sort of tracking. So when you're planning a meal out, you have the knowledge and the ability to know that that's the right amount of carbs and fats and proteins, and to be able to, if you're trying to lose weight, to be able to stay in a calorie deficit, or if you're trying to get to gain weight, to be in a surplus, and to be able to do that and not have to track it and just choose the foods that you like. The only downside to that is to be able to do that and do it effectively. Your knowledge of nutrition and your understanding of your own body needs to be second to none. And like Emily Thompson, PhD on Instagram, is a massive advocate of it. And I'm a big supporter of the stuff that she does. She's really intelligent, but because she's really intelligent and because she's got a massive background in nutrition, she's able to intuitively eat because her knowledge supports it. Whereas the vast majority of the public just don't have that knowledge to be able to support intuitive eating. So like you say, in the times like now, if we've got clients who want to lose weight, if anyone's trying to lose weight and you're in the house all day, having hyperpalatable foods, so having those foods in that you will eat and not be able to stop eating. So for you, it's the chocolate buttons. For me, it's like big share bags of crisps. Having them easily accessible. Yeah, having them easily accessible, it means you're going to eat them. There's no doubt about it. It'll all get out because you just tempting fate. Like if you were a smoker and you were trying to quit smoking, but you had a cupboard in your house full with 600 Lambert and Butler, you're not going to quit smoking. So if you're trying to lose weight,
I've ever heard in my life. But then you say it like that, doesn't it?
It's true though, isn't it? Like food's no different. It's something. It's the thing you're trying to reduce. Yeah. So if there's loads of it about and it's loads of the stuff that you enjoy, you're not going to fucking eat it.
Many studies that sort of are trying to link like food, or trying to create a genre of addiction for food addiction at the minute. Although it hasn't been fully accepted, but it's that's such a great example.
Yeah, I can fully get behind it because there's the links between food consumption and dopamine release in the brain, and how the more heavily overweight someone is, the more food they require to get the same level of dopamine that someone who's maybe what's deemed like a normal weight would get. So like if me or you were to eat chocolate and we were to eat like a normal dairy milk bar of chocolate, we would get a certain level of dopamine released into the brain. Whereas for someone who's struggling with obesity would need to eat like 2 share bars to get the same level of dopamine release in the brain. So yeah, I can fully see that there would be things to support that it is an addiction, because it's a drug. You're getting drugs released into your brain, and you want that drug. You want that feeling of dopamine being released into your brain. So to get it, and you get it through food, then yeah, you are going to overconsume, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely. So I think the biggest push for my fat loss clients at the minute has been environment, and obviously making sure we stay active because we have got the time now. I'd just like to touch upon those clients. I don't know if you've got any at the minute, but my muscle gain clients who were in a pretty large surplus, obviously.
All
Now,
feeling the pinch.
well,
All feeling the pinch now because you've told them, look, lads, you don't need 4,000 calories anymore on training days.
yeah, the few. There's nothing worse than going from lots of lovely food and then just all of a sudden just without any time to prepare. Like you've had a few months to prepare for prep and stuff like that mentally.
Yeah, I knew it was coming. This is like, hey, you're on lockdown, the gyms are shut, so bye food.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, but what we've had to do obviously is, as in a similar way to what we were just saying for fat loss clients, energy expenditure is massively lower. So we don't need to be pushing that many calories because now instead of maybe being in a 500 calorie surplus, now we might be in a 1,000 calorie surplus, and that's just excessive. You would never even need that in a typical gym setting in a normal situation because that's just going to lead to excessive fat gain, which is just not ideal. We want, even in a muscle gain situation, we want to stay relatively lean. Simply for we want to have good blood lipids, we want to have optimal health, and being massively overweight is not going to create those conditions. We want our hormones to be in a good place, and as we normally will see with extra fat gain, we'll normally see testosterone go down and estrogen raise a little bit, which we don't want either. So the calories have had to come down, but also even some clients who were sort of coming towards the end of a muscle gain phase who were carrying a little bit of weight, which it was going to be time to cut to ahead of summer. Those clients have now been brought right down towards maintenance. So we're not as, although we can be as optimal as possible with the home workouts that we're doing and the training that we're doing, we're still not going to be triggering muscle growth response as well as we would be if we were still in the gym. So those people who are now, we don't want to accumulate any more fat at all. That it would be counterproductive to keep them in a surplus at all, because now, like, you eating in any surplus whatsoever is still likely to accumulate a little bit of fat gain, in my opinion, just simply because we're not going to be accumulating as much muscle tissue as we could be. So I've put a few of them down to maintenance, and those who are still at the start of a muscle gain phase have been sort of, the surplus has massively been diminished, just as sort of a time where we're not optimally building muscle, so we don't need the food so high. We can just use it as a time to make sure that we don't completely lose body composition.
Definitely. Last thing I think we should cover on nutrition is sort of the supplementation and the health sort of marker side of things that we're trying to look to improve more so than usual. So I know you mentioned yesterday, like vitamin C, for helping with your immune system. So if you, what sort of stuff have you give to your clients in terms of like supplements or like micronutrients boosting stuff?
So yeah, obviously with the current situation, although we're never going to be able to stop you getting coronavirus, we can set our physiology up in a position where if you do get it, you're going to be in a slightly better position to be able to handle it. So we want our immunity to be better than normal. So supplementing things like vitamin C is going to be massive. So all my clients have been told to get a vitamin C supplement, and simply, like, literally on top of that is just, I've told my people to just eat 2 tangerines a day, because we can get as much we can get our requirements of vitamin C from our diet. I think I forgot to look this up after yesterday. I think I'm
I know the
pretty sure.
RDA,
What?
the RDA from
Yeah,
the amount.
I'm pretty sure the RDA for adults is 40 milligrams. Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it is. And we can achieve that through 2 tangerines. So, are you looking it up?
60 milligrams for men and women.
Okay, so yeah, we can get it from our diet regardless. So, supplementing with vitamin C supplement or a tablet and making sure that we're increasing our intake to the diet is going to be massive. Simply, vitamin C is a massive antioxidant which is going to massively help immunity. So that's been the big one, the big push for me with regards to everything else. So I've just sent people different multivitamins to take. We want to, your body needs to be working as efficiently as possible, really, all the time, but specifically now. So giving it all the materials and nutrients and minerals that it needs in at any time is gonna sort of create the conditions for optimal functioning. So even if you're not deficient in a mineral or a vitamin, supplementing with a good multivitamin is gonna sort of remove any chance of any inadequacy in the diet or any deficiency potentially. Then I think it's just worth it, even if there's no cracks in your diet.
Yeah, definitely. And like we were saying yesterday, now is a perfect time to iron out some of the issues that maybe have been there for a while that have been like pushed to the side because of like the work-life balance and the time people have got to look at things and sort things out. So if your digestion hasn't been 100%, or if you have been lacking in certain vitamins, or you have been struggling to maybe nail your protein intake every day, there's literally no excuse now. You're at home all day pretty much, unless you're a key worker. You're at home, you've got time to prepare these meals and to focus a lot more on this. And it's, from my point of view, it's something that I don't feel is being addressed by a lot of people, that, or a lot of coaches. I know a lot of the good coaches are on it straight away because they're good coaches, but now is a perfect time to iron out all of these issues that maybe wouldn't have been ironed out otherwise, so that when all this is over and things go back to normal and people go back to work, they've solved the issues. The digestion is better, their sleep is better, their mineral intake is better, their protein intake's better, and they've got into a habit of doing it now during these weeks of lockdown, so that it's a habit that when it comes back to normal and when they're going back to work, that they've formed them habits already, so they know, so that they shouldn't then slip back in and these issues shouldn't become a thing again.
Yeah, definitely. Should we touch upon protein sources?
Yeah, because fucking hoarders taking all my eggs. Fucking bastards.
Hate them. Oh my god, get on this. Me ma ordered fucking like 700 toilet rolls from Singapore. They got delivered yesterday, and I was fucking furious. I was like,
Give us a toilet roll now, lad. I've only got like 4 left.
I was actually fuming on it, and now she's giving them away to people. So I made her feel so bad for us having so many. So now our whole family's just got fucking excessive amounts of toilet roll.
Mental. Yeah, protein sources. Some, I mean, not too bad now. I don't feel. I think it's sort of the what you call it, the hoarding of food, the bulk buying seems to have calmed down a little bit. People seem to have like
realised that we're not actually going to run out of food. So
yeah. So protein's more available now, but I know initially like you couldn't get eggs anywhere. You couldn't get any You couldn't get any like chilled meats. It was all frozen stuff, which is strange. People were both buying the refrigerated meat, but not buying the frozen stuff.
Weird. But I think that initial phase where people were hoarding food and bulk buying everything, even still though, like some of my clients are still struggling to get food, to get meat. Like I haven't been able to get chicken still. I'm fine, like for meat in general, like I've got steak. I've had to adjust and get pork and stuff like that. I've been nailing tins of tuna because, like, even so we have got steak and stuff like that, I'm currently in a deficit. So, like for example, the only meat we've got in the house now is tin tuna and sirloin steaks, and it's like, sorry, ribeye steaks, and it's like 600 calories for a ribeye steak, and I just don't have it. So it's like,
I'm having 2 ribeye steaks, and then I'm gonna cry myself naked in the mirror for tea.
gonna have sleep for dinner.
Yeah. Yeah. So like other talking yesterday, I mean, like other protein sources like whey protein still really readily available, and it's also if you can get it from like the small supplement places, it's helping small businesses out as well. Like I know Serious Nutrition is going to be hit quite hard at the minute, but it's doing home deliveries, so they're my go-to for all my supplements, because they're at my end. But yeah, whey protein, so easy, like we were saying, with my nutrition program at the minute. It's really simple to just play around with my protein intake just by adjusting how many scoops of protein I'm putting in one of my meals, and then it's done.
So easy. Yeah, it's a very, very high quality source of protein as well. Like if you get a decent one.
Yeah.
It's just perfect. Most of them are going to be massively high in leucine, which is what we want for maximum muscle protein synthesis, or MPS. So especially in this time now, where if you're not training massively efficiently, we probably want to make sure that we're tipping the protein balance in our favour. So by protein balance, your body is always going to be in sort of a continuum between muscle breakdown and muscle growth, and we want to tip the scale in the favour of muscle growth in order to see increases in muscle mass over time. So now we're going to see greater amounts of muscle breakdown, so we want to see greater amounts of muscle protein synthesis in order to balance that out. So picking good quality sources of protein which are going to be high in leucine, which is one of the biggest amino acids which will trigger muscle growth, is going to be quite important. So whey protein is a great one. Another good one is egg whites. Although we can't get eggs, we were saying yesterday that you can buy just bottles of egg whites on, I think, bulk powders. You can probably get them from all over the gap if you look hard enough.
Yeah, Tesco do 15 egg whites for £1, and I don't think people are considering that as an option, especially when people are bulk buying. They're going straight to the egg aisle and there's no eggs, and they're thinking, oh fuck, I've got no eggs in. But the shelves of egg whites are full because people think a carton of egg whites is gross, but
it's just the same shit.
It's the same shit.
I think, as well, what we didn't speak about yesterday, like if you're struggling for actual protein sources, that probably won't be the case now, but if we can sort of get an incomplete source of protein, so by incomplete I mean like basically non-animal products, so they won't have all the amino acids that our body needs. So things like lentils and stuff like that are sort of high in protein, a little bit, but they're not complete. I seen a study that Lane Norton pointed out when I read it, talking about how if you can supplement a non-complete protein source with I think between 1 and 2 grams of leucine, then you're going to stimulate the same amount of muscle protein synthesis. So if you can get 20 grams of protein from lentils and then eat 2 eggs, you've stimulated something very well, as sort of to the same degree as it would be as if you've just eaten 22 grams of protein, if that makes sense.
Yeah, if you were eating like an animal-based protein, you mean?
Exactly. So I think that could be useful for those of you who are still struggling to get high quality sources of protein in decent quantities.
And again, something that we advocate but don't always push hard. Really, that omnivorous eating. Both, if you don't know what omnivorous is, it's a mix of plant-based and animal-based foods. It's what most diets consist of, but obviously, like there is all the benefits of a vegan diet, and then there's all the things that a vegan diet doesn't have that you get from a meat diet. Well, an omnivorous is just saying, well, I'll just have the best of both.
It always makes me think, like, it always infuriates me, in fact, when vegans are like, well, vegan diet's healthy because, well, listing all the things that vegetables do for you. Well,
yeah,
I get that too because I eat vegetables.
I'm not eating vegetables just because I'm not a vegan. Like,
no, it's not meat or veg. It's like meat and veg.
Yeah.
Like, why do you need to pick one? Just get both the fucking benefit. Like, you're skinny because you're a vegan. I'm not skinny because I eat meat and I also get all the benefits that you do. So, you know what I mean?
Right. I think that's everything on nutrition, isn't it? Sort of really. Let's move on to sleep with a nice transition. Some of the supplements we've been talking about there will transition us nicely into talking about sleep, maybe some of the supplements we've suggested for sleep and what other sort of health stuff we're pushing towards. So like how it helps your stress management, how it can help cortisol levels and just general day-to-day feeling better about yourself.
Definitely. I think with the, again, we were talking about vitamin C and supplementation and looking to set your immunity up as well as possible. If you can absolutely smash your sleep and create the most optimal conditions for sleep, and you're going to be promoting what's called a parasympathetic state throughout the day, which basically means your body's in a recovery state, which is where it always will be unless you're stressed out. So by getting great sleep, you're going to promote that, and that's going to improve your ability to produce an immune response. I think now with all this time that we have, things like sleep should be a massive priority area for people to focus on. And we've been talking about it a lot recently about the importance of looking after your circadian rhythm or your body clock. And what your body clock basically is, it's not just the time that your body falls asleep and wakes up. It's basically it's a massive circuit in your body, effectively, that is triggered by responses to light and food and everything. When you first intake the food is when you first see natural daylight. It will massively impact hormonal releases in the correct sequence, and just everything. Your neurochemistry will be affected. And one of the biggest things which I've been pushing with clients as well as doing myself is, now we've got the time to expose ourselves to sunrise and sunset. And I know you've been doing this as well, Jack. We, like, normally as PTs, we will go to the gym when it's dark and we'll miss sunrise. We'll leave the gym when it's dark and we'll miss sunset. So we're never exposing ourselves to sunrise and sunset, which is going to be massive in regulating your circadian rhythm, I think.
Yeah, like both of us both work in gyms with absolutely no windows inside, so there's not even an opportunity to get sort of like secondary sunlight through the windows. It's literally just leaving the dark into a building, home in the dark. So it's been really nice to actually get a load of sunlight in and get it in at the right times as well. Like, I've been able to get up and see the sunrise in the morning. I've been able to go for a walk in the evening and watch the sunrise set, and it has such a massive, like, it's not just, there's a lot of processes going on inside you that you may not initially or may not ever know that's going on with like hormone release and stuff like that. But I watch the sun set, and literally the moment that the sun is gone out of the skyline, I start yawning. And that is like an instant onset of my body signaling, right, that's the end of the day, let's go and go to bed. It's not,
Absolutely.
like, there's so much going on behind the scenes, but there's that initial, like, you know, that something's working and something's working the right way because I'm yawning straight away. It's almost as if it's like, as soon as it's out of your way, you go, oh, yeah, okay, let's go. It's crazy.
It's we were talking. I sent you that the human labs. That
Oh,
dude,
fantastic.
neuroscientist. He's actually the sickest guy I've ever met. Ever met him. The sickest guy I've ever seen. Um, he talks a lot about how different wavelengths of light that are being released by the sun at certain times of day. So at sunrise and sunset, sorry, the wavelengths of light that are hitting your eyeballs and your skin are different, and there's a different profile of colours going on, and they're the things that impact your circadian rhythm. So our whole biology has been determined over millions of years upon the light dark cycle. So the different wavelengths of light and the different profiles of colours will trigger certain responses and make sure that everything's running smoothly and going in the correct order. So that's why it's so important now to make sure, now that we have got the time, it's not just we like seeing the sunrise and sunset, like go and actually watch it because it will help you sleep. I think it's before 9 a.m. That's the time from between when the sun starts to rise and 9 a.m. is the time when your body will set its circadian clock or set its biological rhythm, and that's sort of when you're setting your body to go to sleep at night time. And then when you expose yourself to the sunset, that's when it sort of reaffirms it and actually starts releasing chemicals to put you to sleep as well.
Yeah, I was saying to you about the last post that he put up, that I seen anyway, about how it's what you've just been talking about, how the watching the sunrise and the sunset auto regulates hormone production, and like two of the key hormones it auto regulates is your dopamine and serotonin release throughout the day. And we were speaking about dopamine before and how it relates to like feeling good after eating certain foods. If you're setting yourself up by watching the sunrise for your body to auto regulate the right amount of dopamine release throughout the day, that in theory should then lead on to when you're consuming foods, you're in the right state to produce the correct levels of dopamine release in relation to the foods that you're consuming. Now, this is obviously going to be different depending on each person and like how much you weigh and other factors that impact your dopamine release. But if that has such a big impact on auto-regulating that, it makes sense to do it, to put yourself in a better position if you're already suffering with other issues that may impact it. That's just one way of reversing those effects almost, and it just makes sense to go in and make the most of that now while you have the time.
Yeah, even if we can't prove it, it's worth potentially giving it a go. I think what you just reminded me of something that might be useful to touch upon as well, which you actually brought to my attention like last year, how a poor sleep will impact insulin sensitivity and ghrelin.
Wow, yeah, that absolutely blew my mind when I read that. That was crazy, yeah.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know what insulin is or what it does, insulin is a hormone that gets released when we eat food, mainly, and it's basically responsible for grabbing carbohydrates and proteins and pulling them into your muscle cell, so that we don't just have loads and loads and loads of food in our blood, because that would fuck you up and probably kill you. So insulin's massively important. When you have a bad sleep, your insulin sensitivity goes down, which means that when you eat the carbohydrate or the protein source, and those are broken down and digested and absorbed into your blood, if you're less insulin responsive, or more insulin resistant, you're not going to be able to pull them out of the blood and into the muscle cell, and that's going to create higher blood sugar levels. And that is probably the biggest thing that is going to fuck you up in anything to do with physiology. Increased blood sugar levels beyond a certain point, it's massive stressor to the body. It doesn't want it at all. So like when you see diabetics who go hyperglycemic, they just go into comas, and the same thing. It's like it's a massive negative physiologically. So obviously you're not going to do that if you have a bad sleep, but we want to mitigate any sort of hyperglycemia at all. So setting yourself up with a good sleep and making sure that you're as responsive to carbohydrates with the best insulin response possible is always going to be ideal. And touching upon ghrelin, do you want to dive into that?
Yeah, let me just jump back to the to that study and sort of give some people some of the figures. I definitely give it to my clients, just because it was such a big shock factor to me. So I feel like it's a big shock factor for most people when they hear it. So the basic outline of the study was that they got one group to sleep a normal, like recommended amount of sleep, and then the other group to just lose 1 hour of sleep. So whether that was going down to 6 hours or going down to 5 hours of sleep. And then they measured their blood glucose levels every day and after a week. And it showed that the group that lost just so there was other groups as well that lost other amounts of sleep. So like some had 2 hours less, some had 3. But even in the group that only had 1 hour less sleep a night, registered as pre-diabetic in the morning when they got the blood glucose done. So if they were to go to the doctors with their blood glucose at that level, the doctor would register them as pre-diabetic. Now that's not to say that they're going to get diabetes, but it's just showing you how much just that 1 hour lack of sleep in fact affected their blood glucose levels. So to repeat that over an extended period of time would increase your levels of suffering with diabetes. So if you are overweight or you have got health issues that mean that you're at risk of getting diabetes, putting in something as simple as getting an hour extra sleep is helping reduce your risk of diabetes.
Yeah, it's massive.
You get an extra hour of sleep, who doesn't want that? And 2, you don't get diabetes, so you don't get your leg chopped off. It's a win-win.
That's massive, like in terms of health. Like the number one sort of, not number one sort of thing, but like we see massive links between non-communicable diseases, like diabetes is one of them, and obesity and stuff like that. But diabetes is one where we see huge mortality rates with diabetics over much more regularly than non-diabetic. So it's like it just reaffirms how important it is to have decent insulin sensitivity and making sure that our blood glucose stays in a decent range. So sleep is just fucking massive, isn't it, really?
Yeah, definitely. And then we're going to talk about ghrelin and how that's impacted as well. I'll let you've got a real head for the figures. So when I get into it and I need the figures to back it up, I'm going to come to you because you are the...
I don't know any figures for this.
You've got... so yeah, essentially you've got 2 hormones. You've got ghrelin and leptin. Ghrelin being the hunger hormone and leptin being what tells you you're full. Lack of sleep exponentially increases ghrelin production and also suppresses leptin production. So not only are you increasing the hormone that makes you feel hungry, you're reducing how much of the hormone that makes you feel full. So it's like taking away the good and increasing how much bad there is.
Double whammy.
Yeah, so you're just doing yourself over. But also this ties into to diet and training. Obviously sleep's massive for recovery, But when you train, which a lot of people don't realize, when you train and when you go into a diet or when you go into a deficit, you increase your ghrelin production anyway. Your body doesn't want to naturally lose weight. Your body's trying to maintain homeostasis. So it's trying to maintain equalness through everything. So you losing body weight is going against that sort of survival mechanism in your body to want to survive by retaining energy. So it will increase ghrelin production to make you consume more food, which I don't think a lot of people realize when they go into a diet, that yeah, you are going to feel more hungry than normal. One, because you're eating less food, but two, you're producing a hormone that makes you feel hungry. So to then, again, like the diabetes and the lack of sleep, if you're then compounding that increased ghrelin production with lack of sleep, you're producing even more ghrelin on top of that and even less leptin. So your chances of actually sustaining fat loss over a long period of time are fucked. You're up against it anyway, just going into a diet. But to then reduce how much sleep you're getting and increase that even more, it's like you've got no chance.
And even on top of that, like tying both insulin sensitivity and increased ghrelin and reduced leptin all together, like the ghrelin and leptin is going to make sure that you eat more food, and the decreased sensitivity to insulin is going to make sure that now you're eating more food and you've got even less of an ability to deal with all those extra fucking calories in your blood, which is going to fuck you up. So what we're trying to say is make your sleep fucking good in the next few months while you've got the chance to, and then just maintain that. I think we should touch upon actually how to make your sleep good.
Yeah, definitely.
Biggest thing which we were talking about yesterday is whenever we have a consultation or with someone and we ask them sleep, how's your sleep? And they're like, sound, it's good. Yeah, it's good. So we'll obviously always dive in a little bit and ask them a few questions. And one of the questions I always ask is, do you wake up in the night? And most people who say, oh yeah, my sleep's pretty good, they'll be like, oh, I mean, yeah, it's all right. You usually wake up 2 or 3 times a night to go to the toilet, but it's sound. No, sound. It's your waking at all. It's not a good sleep. Your head's supposed to go on the pillow. You're supposed to shut your eyes and then wake up in the morning when the sun rises. You're not supposed to wake up at all. And if you are, it's a sign that something's going wrong. Your sleep cycles aren't efficient. It's not correct. This shouldn't be the case.
Yeah. Like I was saying to you, it's like I laugh now when people say that to me, but there was a time when I was the same, where I would think, oh well, I'm only waking up for a wee. I'm waking up because I need a wee. And it's only after like learning more about sleep and hearing other people talk about sleep and stuff, what got it to sink in for me was that needing a wee isn't a life-threatening thing. So your body won't wake you up from its rested. Like it's doing the most work to do with recovery and like repairing itself during sleep. So it won't wake itself up from that process unless it's something life-threatening, like you've stopped breathing or like it senses danger. So going for a wee isn't that. You can hold your wee in for the night. There's not actually that much liquid in your bladder that it would require you to wake up. So you're waking up because you're in a light sleep and you haven't stayed in a deep enough sleep for long enough. And then because you're awake, you're going for a wee, not the other way around, which a lot of people, including me, not too long ago, didn't understand. So I think that's important for people to know that you're not waking up to go for a wee, you're going for a wee because you woke up.
Yeah, and that's exactly where we don't want to be. We don't want to be waking up at all. And probably the biggest thing which is impacting people waking up, in my opinion, is blue light. So we'll dive into this. I think what is responsible for putting you in a deep sleep cycle and keeping you there for an appropriate amount of time and helping you move through sleep cycles efficiently is a hormone called melatonin, among other things, but melatonin is probably the most well-known one. So when as we were talking before about sunset and sunrise, like exposing yourself to those colours at the right times is going to make sure that melatonin secretion is good. And we want that to be optimal as we're going to sleep. If you're exposing yourself to blue light, and by blue light I don't actually mean the colour blue, I mean artificial light, so things like your phone, laptop, computer, TV, pretty much all artificial light. So even like your bedroom light has blue light in it, and it's just a wavelength of light which interrupts your body's ability to secrete melatonin at the correct time. So exposing yourself to artificial light in the hours before bed, or even when it's dark, will massively impact your melatonin secretion. And then if that's not optimal, then you're going to be waking up in the night because you haven't got adequate amount of melatonin. So I think the biggest thing which I always work with people, with clients who have poor sleep, is removing or mitigating any blue light exposure before bed within reason. So like me, I'm a fucking absolute crank. Like my family, when it comes to night, when it's night time, because if a light goes on in the house, I'm fuming. Like I've got me blue light blockers on.
I don't know why you're single, you know. No idea.
This was the reason, one of the reasons. These will block pretty much a lot of the blue light that goes into your eyeballs at night time. So when it's dark outside, I'll whack them on. I even went for a meal in them a few weeks back with my mates, and they were fucking cringing.
Yeah. What one thing you haven't touched on, which I want you to touch on, what's the worst thing you can do, and what's the worst thing that people always do if they wake up in the middle of the night?
The worst fucking thing you could ever do? Nah, it's not the worst thing you could ever do. You could probably do
No,
some
but
worse.
it's up there for sleep quality.
If you wake up in the middle of the night, don't ever check your phone. So even don't check it for the time, but definitely don't go on Instagram and start scrolling through or anything. Don't even turn the light on. Like, just keep it dark. Because again, we were talking about Huberman Labs. I actually need to learn his real name. But Huberman Labs was talking about how at night time your circadian rhythm dictates that you should see no light whatsoever at 3 in the morning or 2 in the morning. So when you're getting your phone out and you're exposing it to blue artificial light, you're sort of going completely against your biology, and it's been shown to sort of stimulate depressive circuits in the brain. So not saying you're going to get depressed if you go on your phone in the middle of the night, but it's not going to be the best for your mental state when you wake up in the morning. And if you're doing that every night, it's just not a place where we want to be in terms of mental health. And obviously, it's just not a good idea to be doing that once we know that it's going to be sort of stimulating these depressive circuits in the brain. So that just never do that. I think just what I personally do is just take my phone out of my room anyway before I go to sleep, just so I'm not even tempted to go on it. Even with them blue blockers on, it's like they're not stopping everything. Like the light's still hitting my skin, so that still has a response. There's receptors in your skin which will receive the light as well. So we just want to reduce all artificial light when it's dark, basically, because your body's not designed to take it in. I think
that's it, isn't it? I think that's us. I think we've managed to do our first podcast and record it. So we'll do a bit of a recap on today's show. So started off by talking about the things that have impacted us and the stuff we're doing differently with clients. Essentially just focusing on people's health and finding new ways for them to be able to progress. In their training, we've both adapted new ways of training clients, their change in focus on ways of creating metabolic stress in muscles, and the new type, like sort of exercise design we're using. Nutrition wise, we're focusing on making sure all the things that are lacking in people's diets or have been when they've been busy or not giving it as much focus, that we're making sure now, while everyone's got the time, we are nailing that so that all the issues that exist there won't be issues in the future when we move on from all of this. And finally, and their calories as well. Yeah, making sure that their calories fit their new level of activity. And finally, Isaac has just blown everyone's brains with his knowledge on sleep. And it's the reason he'll be on our webinar, Silverjack's free webinar, to do more in-depth talk on sleep and the benefits and things you can do to improve it. So please feel free to come along and join on that if you want to find out more about sleep.
Yeah, we'll get some slides and go some nice studies up. I'll leave the links there for the studies so people can go and actually read them and expand their own knowledge as well. But yeah, thanks everyone for listening to episode 1 of Coffee and Coaching. If you have got any questions that you'd like us to touch upon on the next episode, then just let us know. This is on Instagram at Coach.Camara or at Silverjacks_.
Right, we'll see you all again on the next one. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.